Now, 2 years ago, you could still pick up a terraced house in Burnley for around £10,000. Chances are it wouldn't have been in great condition. And that's when the town managed to secure £15 million to tackle the town's serious housing problems. But as our political editor David Woodthorpe reports, it's not been good news for everyone.
How many of the angles are right angles, Jenna? 2.
Tricky sums for youngsters at Springfield Primary in Burnley. Outwardly, it's like any other school, but open half the classroom doors and there's something missing. Children. According to Ofsted, Springfield is a good school. So where are the youngsters? Well, there's a clue outside. The school sits in the heart of Burnley Wood, an area where many houses are boarded up, waiting for demolition.
The school could take 350 pupils. It will have in September 2007 about 138 pupils, and the reason for that is that families have moved out of the area due to relocation or due to the houses being pulled down.
The falling school roll has meant that in the last 5 years staff numbers have dropped from 57 to 22. Burnley Wood is one of 5 areas in the town that are part of the government's Pathfinder programme. It began in 2003 and its purpose is to improve or replace homes and revitalise the housing market.
It's actually not this programme that's created that problem. This programme is seeking to address and solve that problem. We're trying to create a housing market that's sustainable, that's got a balance in it, that attracts people to live and stay here in Burnley. That's the solution to that headmaster's problem.
Karen Heseltine lives 2 doors down from her mum Margaret in Burnley Wood. They love their community and don't want to move.
We are so close-knit. It takes you back to the 60s where you could leave your front door open. You can nip in and somebody's always looking after you. People call it the nosy neighbour syndrome, but it's not. People generally do appreciate your neighbours.
They accuse both the former Labour and current Liberal Democrat councils of repeatedly changing their plans, leaving people unsure whether they'll lose their homes.
The uncertainty is absolutely horrendous. You just don't know if you're coming or going. You can't make plans for anything.
Not all residents are unhappy. In Cog Lane, renovations to the front of houses ordered by the Lib Dem Council and paid for with government money have gone down well.
Their places will run down all of Cog Lane, and people now look forward. They come up here and they go down and said, "It's what a lovely place now. It's getting nicer to live."
But there is another row looming in these streets. Homeowners whose houses have been compulsory purchased have been receiving the market value plus a grant of up to £30,000 to buy elsewhere. In future, that grant will become a loan, repayable with interest. Jihan Ali lives in the Danehouse area of Burnley. He's already seen the row of houses opposite his terrace flattened. He's not happy with the loan scheme.
People feel really angry and devastated. But to have the added burden of not only taking out a mortgage but also having to pay off that loan, not having that added security that the house that they would be living in the future is 1/3 owned by the government.
Burnley Council argues the loan will ultimately help more people and offers better value for money.
When we've put public money in, if we can take that public money out in a reasonable way to invest to help the next person in the queue, then that's the right way to spend public resources.
As kids at Springfield demolish dinner, the council continues to demolish streets. Planning permission for 100 new homes in southwest Burnley should be granted this summer, but that won't help Anne Wells.
Houses need to be rebuilt in this area as soon as possible, houses that will have families moving into them.
Patience has worn thin in many parts of Burnley as people wait for improvements. The government's Pathfinder programme is supposed to halt decline and renovations are underway. But no homeowner wants to pay for losing their home. So who's responsible for forcing through loans?
Well, I'm joined now to discuss the issues raised there by Kitty Usher, Burnley's Labour MP, who joins us from Westminster. Also in the studio, we've got Gordon Birtwistle, the Liberal Democrat leader of Burnley Council, and Karen Heseltine, who, of course, we saw in David's report there. Kitty, if I could just join you, first of all. David said at the end of his report, who is to blame for the whole loan introduction? Who would you blame?
I think it's quite clearly Elevate with the agreement of the council. It's their decision how to implement the compensation to other people.
For people that don't know, Elevate is a company
it's a government quango effectively, and it's been set up to administer the housing regeneration in the whole of East Lancashire. There are several across the country, and
so you're blaming Elevate?
Yes, I think that's quite clear.
Why do you blame them, though? Because surely the council is having to introduce it, and actually it was Labour's idea in the first place.
No, it's not Labour's idea, because when we had a Labour council and Elevate proposed a similar scheme, it was resisted. And what I'm saying is that this council should resist it as well. It's the government gives Elevate the power to decide how to spend the very many millions of pounds of government money that's given to sort out our housing. And Elevate has decided to scrap the grant that I campaigned to have increased from 25 to 30,000 and to replace it with a loan. And they have to operate through the council to do so. So we need a decision of the Lib Dem Tory Council in order for that to happen, and I understand that will take place in the next few months.
OK, but I know that you have written to Yvette Cooper, the Housing Minister, about this. And she's responded to you, and she says, indeed, it is up to individual pathfinders like Elevate to decide whether to have a grant or a loan scheme. But she actually then does say that she agrees with this loan system because it will be better value for money and help future residents.
She doesn't say she agrees with it. She says the government is supportive of the scheme, and the government would also be supportive if Elevate decided not to do it, because the government delegates the power to Elevate to make the decisions. And there are always people in the Treasury, I'm sure, who if someone said, oh, guess what, we're going to spend less government money, would be perfectly happy with that. But the point is that the letter from the Minister makes entirely clear, and that's why I'm launching this campaign, that it is up to the local agency, Elevate, to decide how to compensate residents affected by this. And whatever their decision is, because government supports Elevate, government would support what they wanted to do.
OK, Gordon, if I could bring you in here. I mean, the letter here at the end, Yvette says, we're supportive of such a move, i.e. the loans, as it provides better value for money and will expand the pathfinder in Burnley and across the areas. So, in effect, the government is saying they're supportive of it. Kitty doesn't agree. What's your stand as in the Liberal Democrat Council?
Well, we're caught in the middle. We receive funding from the government via Elevate, and we have to spend it as they decide. I mean, Kitty can't have it both ways. The Elevate board has decided that they will switch from grants to loans. They've obviously been instructed by government to do that because it's a more efficient way of spending public money. And obviously, when somebody pays the loan back, whenever they move house, the soft loan, very soft loan, when they move house, then that gives the Borough Council, or Elevate, as it may well be, extra funding to spend on somebody else's house. It may be unfair.
It is really not the case that the government has instructed Elevate to do this. The government has made it entirely clear in a letter to me that I'm happy to publish that it is Elevate's choice, Elevate's decision to do this. And I think that is totally unfair on Burnley people who have had their homes devalued through no fault of their own, to have their wealth reduced in this way. And you say, yes, the money can be regenerated later when it comes back, but by your own admission, that only happens when the house is sold. So it could be 10, 20, 30 years down the line. And if we haven't sorted out our regeneration of our most derelict areas by that time, then I think it's an absolute travesty. We need to sort it out in the next couple of years, if not already.
It does seem an extra burden on residents. They've had their houses purchased, they've had them taken off them, in effect their communities destroyed, and now they're being told that instead of being given a chunk of money, they're going to actually have a loan that they're going to have to give back. Yeah, that's the case, and as I say, the Elevate board have agreed this, and Yvette Cooper's letter, which I have a copy of here, instructs Elevate not to pay the council the grant money, so we have to go for loans. But having said that, we're responsible for all the people in Burnley. Last year it affected 18 people, this year it's going to affect 12 people. So we're working hard to regenerate the area. Our big problem at the moment is uncertainty, because at the end of this year, we don't know whether we're going to get any more money. I'm sure Kitty will be better served chasing Yvette Cooper up and government ministers to try and advise us the policy for the next 5 years and how much funding we're going to get, so we can give security. Can I just bring in Karen here, because you are a resident and we're talking about the residents here. How does this affect you? You've lived in the area for a while. I know your mother lives there as well.
Yeah, we've had family there since I was 13. I'm 41 now, so it's quite a while. The problem is the uncertainty, as Gordon's just said. I can feel for both parties here, the residents and the council, but we are the net. We're the ones that everybody's batting and bawling against. We have the uncertainty of, A, we're not knowing if our homes are safe. We've had that many plans and discussions. It's just to the point where, do we know we're having this discussion? Are we on the plan? No, you're not, you're off. Then next time we're on the plan again. The people just really don't know where they stand. They can't make their own, keep a lifestyle. They don't know if to. Have they got the money to go on holiday? Should we buy a car? Should we refurbish the house? Maybe not. We're still on the plan. So the uncertainty's there, and people's lives are being ruined. It's terrible. It's really sad.
Well, I mean, Kitty, to bring it back to you, this was a scheme introduced by the government, the Pathfinder scheme, the initial Pathfinder scheme. Forgetting the loans for a minute, forgetting the grants, does the scheme work itself? I mean, you hear what Karen says, and they feel like they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I can really sympathise with what Karen said, and it's reflected, and we've had that conversation in the past, and it's reflected by the people who come to my surgery week in, week out. And I find it completely heartbreaking that people haven't been able to be told what's going to happen to their individual property. And people come with tragic stories about how work needs doing on their house, and they don't want to do the work if their home's then going to be compulsory purchased and they aren't compensated to the full effect. And so it's almost kind of accelerating people's poverty. But in terms of the Pathfinder scheme in general, I think overall it is an excellent scheme in that it's giving the money that we in Burnley have needed for decades. And my predecessor, Peter Pike, always says that he brought in the 1980s minister after minister to come to Burnley to see what we needed doing. And it was only when we got a Labour government that we actually got these millions of pounds committed. On the uncertainty, I mean, I can reassure Gordon Birtwistle that and it's completely public, and I've said it many times, there is a commitment of government to fund this programme way beyond their normal 3-year budgeting cycle, and there's records of questions I've asked in the House of Commons. If you look there are records of questions that I've asked in the House of Commons that prove that. And what I've always said to the Council...
Can I just let Gordon come in, because we're running out of time?
Well, I hadn't quite finished my point. If I can just say to the Council, I think you should be more confident in your planning. I think you should be able to tell people with greater certainty what's going to happen.
Okay, because I've let Gordon respond now, because we are running out of time.
Well, that is an impossible situation. How can we promise people what we're going to do when we have no indication whatsoever of funding from the end of this year? We're doing our plans, but are we going to get the money?
Okay, and last word to you, Karen. Would you rather this whole Pathfinder scheme was forgotten altogether?
No. I agree with it to some aspect. It's great, it's fetching Burnley up. We're proud of Burnley.
But we need some more organisation.
We need some more planning properly.
All three of you, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. Now, on to other things. Why would a